Welcome to the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. And of course, it is 24 hours away from the big game here in Las Vegas, Nevada, the sports betting capital of the world. And of course, with it being the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs that you see right behind me, I had to bring on the Philadelphia Eagles superfan. It would only be fair if I had to bring on Dennis Holmes from the Ignoranthinkers podcast. I've had you on once before. It's always good having you on the show. How's it going, my friend?
Hey, man, everything's going by pretty good. I'm nervous. You know, the big day, Philadelphia Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs got to lose this one. They got to lose.
So I'm going to make a safe bet and say I already know what your prediction is. I'll give my prediction later in the show. But we'll break down the Super Bowl, just, break it down side by side and kind of give some analysis on it. And, of course, we're going to start out with the quarterback position, the most valuable position in the NFL, not most important. I've made the argument that the offensive line is the most important position in the NFL, but the most valuable position is the quarterback. And behind us, we have Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. So we might as well start with the Philadelphia Eagles and a quarterback that I love watching throughout the NFL season. And everyone who watches around the world here on the Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio, I have been a fan of Jalen Hurts this year. He was a top 2 quarterback in the NFL this year. His NFL MVP, if he hadn't gotten injured, I still believe he would have been MVP. But I digress. What happened. So with Jalen Hurts from, year 2 last year where they lose to Tampa Bay in the NFC wildcard round to now being in Super Bowl 57. So Dennis, with you being an Eagles fan, what was some notable differences in Jalen Hurts? Has there been any positive, any upgrades, anything you noticed that really elevated the game of Jalen Hurts?
One of the things my brother always kept saying about him in year 1 and 2, he doesn't run to his left and throw to his left. You know what I mean? My brother always said, he always going to run to the right and throw the ball. That's all he do. Run to the right, throw the ball. That's all he ever going to do. Run to the right, throw the ball. And I was like, he can run left and do it too. And he was like, yeah, but he don't do it all the time. He don't run to his left all the time and throw it all the time. And that's a weakness. So he was like, if I was the defensive coordinator, I would blitz him on his right and make him go left. I was like, okay. This year 3, he could go left or right. He has no problem throwing. It's kind of crazy because I don't think that there's anything that he can't do. He has no problem throwing a deep ball, which I've seen that in year 2. Him throwing a deep ball and putting, as they say, as Rex Ryan would say, throwing a strawberry through a battleship. That's what Rex Ryan would say. But I don't see no weaknesses in his game. The crazy thing is he only threw 22 touchdowns this season, and people had him second in MVP vote. Let that sink in. 22 touchdowns, and he was second in MVP vote. Only 5 interceptions.
Now, I will say that there was one negative I did notice with Jalen Hurts the first 2 years that he actually has improved a lot on, and that is, trusting that his first target, trusting his instincts. That was going to be what I'm going to say. That was something that I noticed in year 1 and year 2 that has definitely changed in year 3 with Jalen Hurts. Is that, he'll go through his reads, and then, if he trusts that the first one's going to be open, he doesn't, do a split second. He doesn't take a second to think about it. No, he just goes. And that really shows maturity in the NFL, especially for a young quarterback. A lot of people forget that Jalen Hurts is only 24 years old. So for someone who is as young as a quarterback as Jalen Hurts is, that's something I noticed in terms of how he performed as a quarterback from then until now, is that he doesn't, tense up. He doesn't go a split second. He doesn't double think. No, he just trusts his instincts. So that's something I picked up on. Also, the long ball as well. Like year 1, not really as much as year 2, but definitely in year 1, there was a lot of conversations about, can he go deep? Like, is he going to be able to go deep? Well, this year he has shown multiple times that, yes, he very well can go deep. for the Philadelphia Eagles. He can do it quite efficiently too.
Yeah.
Now, if this was almost any other team in the AFC, I would say Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the Super Bowl matchup. If it was anybody else than who I'm about to talk about now, Jalen Hurts would be the obvious answer. But unfortunately, Dennis, Jalen Hurts has to go up against the next Tom Brady, according to certain people. Jalen Hurts has to go up against the next golden boy, the next face of the NFL. And I'm talking about the guy I'm pointing to right here, and that's Patrick Mahomes. Now, Dennis, do you believe that that is true? That, Patrick Mahomes is the next Tom Brady, that he is the next face of the NFL? That's who the NFL wants to be their next golden boy?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's paid properly like it, and, he's a hell of a performer. I mean, I didn't expect this from Patrick Mahomes this year. Once he lost Tyreek Hill, I said his game was going to go down. And the crazy thing is, it looked like he just got better, dissecting and passing balls all over the place. Hey, dog, do me a favor and tag me in this. But, yeah, he just got better at it. And I got to give him his props, man. He made Juju look like a better receiver. Valdez, he took a bunch of what I would like to call number 2 wide receivers and made them look good. Kadarius Toney wasn't even looked at to be nice on the Giants. Now he's over there in Kansas City, and they have designed plays for this man that makes him look Tyreek Hill-ish.
Indeed.
Not
yes.
Not Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek Hill-ish.
Right. I mean, it's kind of fascinating to me how almost every elite quarterback lost their best receiver, and they went downhill. Patrick Mahomes loses his best receiver, and he almost does better than the year before.
Receivers, they made them look good.
I mean, that's just, to me, an insane situation. It really shows how great Patrick Mahomes has been the last few years, is that he can lose his best option, bring in a Juju Smith-Schuster, a Marquez Valdez-Scantling, bring in a bunch of people like Kadarius Toney, who is considered a bust in New York. And now he has done not better, but he actually has performed a lot better than he did the year before.
Right. He was like coming off the bench in New York. Now he's, got a piece of the playbook in Kansas City. That's just the difference there. And that's Andy Reid and his genius as well, to go out and see, oh, no, this guy got talent. Bring him to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about Andy Reid more later in the show. So when it comes to Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, obviously I will pick Mahomes as the advantage there. But there has been the conversation, there has been the news that has come out over this entire week. And that's the fact that, yes, this will be the first Super Bowl in history to have 2 black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. Throughout all 57 years, this is the first time. And I will say that I do like the fact that Doug Williams and Warren Moon and Randall Cunningham and a bunch of the legends have come out and, done support, and they're talking about it and all positive. That's what I like to see. I like to see the fact that you have legends who are talking about the current game and are kind of, showing respect to the current quarterbacks in Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. I just think that's great.
I have to agree. That is great.
Yeah. So we talked about the quarterbacks, for the first part, talking about Super Bowl 57 here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. We're here with Dennis Holmes from the Ignoranthinkers podcast.
Yeah.
And moving over to the running game, because I feel like this is where Philadelphia can have an edge here. Because not only do the Eagles have not just one running back, not just 2 running backs, but you have a quarterback who you could say is a third running back in Jalen Hurts.
And we got a third running back.
Yeah. So with the Philadelphia Eagles, this running game, I believe, is going to be a big part of Super Bowl 57. But what do you see? What do you see being this Super Bowl 57 with the running game in Kansas City and Philadelphia?
It's kind of crazy, Ian, because I see a lot of things in this game. I see the first half getting out of hand, and I see Kansas City making a comeback in the second half. And the run game for the Eagles is going to have to be essential. because that's going to be the key to keeping Patrick Mahomes off the field. Is running the football, so it's going to have to be essential. And I see them, kind of making a comeback, and next thing you know, they make one or two mistakes, and Philadelphia comes back in it, scores two more touchdowns, and wins the game. And that's why I had the final score being 38-20.
Hey, you know what? That's your prediction. I will give my prediction later in the show because mine is actually a lot closer and is going to be a lot different than what your prediction is for Super Bowl 57. But, back to the whole running game here on Sports Angle and PRConnectionRadio.com. I will go with Philadelphia here just because the fact that they have a variety of weapons. The Philadelphia Eagles have more than just one running back that they're going to be using throughout the game. Kansas City Chiefs, they have the rookie Isaiah Pacheco. They have him as a, first running back, but McKinnon really not going to be used that much. He was used sparingly throughout the year. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, not really going to be used that much. And even Ronald Jones, to an extent, not going to be used that much. So with Kansas City, they're not going to be using their array of running backs. Philadelphia will. And with Miles Sanders, the fact that he is going to be an upcoming free agent, well, granted, half of your team is going to be upcoming free agents this offseason. But, with Miles Sanders being what he is, I think the Philadelphia Eagles, I would give them the edge when it comes to the running game.
Yeah. Even though I do like that guy from Rutgers, number 10. What's his name? Pachenko?
Isaiah Pacheco, yeah.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah. Now, the receivers, I'm kind of just breaking this down position by position here. The receivers, before this week, there was a possibility that the Chiefs were not going to have Schuster and we're not going to have Tony because they were on the injured list. Mm-hmm. Now that we know that they're going to play, they will be suited up, they'll be in the Super Bowl, I actually think this will be a closer conversation in terms of receivers, in terms of who Mahomes and Hurts are going to be passing to in this game. I mean, on Kansas City, we all know about Travis Kelce. All right. We know that Travis Kelce is going to be option A. He is going to be the main person in Kansas City, but you still have Juju. You have MSV, Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling. You got it.
Yeah, Sky Moore, the rookie, who, by the way, I thought was going to have more this year, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. And
yeah, I did. I thought he was going to have a bigger impact as well. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, and then Justin Watson as well, who's, been a couple of years in the league. He's more of a fourth option, a receiver. So Kansas City, they're going to have 6 receivers suited up in this game. Well, Philadelphia, they're going to be using 6 receivers in this game as well. Of course, we know about the superstar A.J. Brown, who you acquired at the NFL draft here in Las Vegas. When the trade happened, it was insane. You also have Devontae Smith, who you also traded for the year before in said NFL draft. But you still have some good weapons there. You have Quez Watkins. You have Zach Pascal. Dallas Goedert, arguably a top 5 tight end in the NFL. And then you have Greg Ward as well, the quarterback turned receiver from University of Houston. So with the receiving game, who would you go with? Personally, if you're comparing them side by side, who's got the edge here in this game, Philadelphia or Kansas City?
Not to be a homer, but it's Philadelphia. And if you go by tight end, it's Kansas City. That's just me. There's, like I said, Kansas City has a bunch of number 2 wide receivers. Philadelphia has 2 number 1 wide receivers. We got 2 wide receivers went over. I think they both went over 1,100 yards.
That's indeed. Yeah, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, they had amazing years.
Yeah. So that's I'm Philly all the way, but not even to be biased as Philadelphia. But I can't hate on them boys, Juju, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Kadarius Toney. I can't hate on them boys because they've been getting the job done. They've been getting the job done. You know what I mean? As magical as Patrick Mahomes is, they've been getting the job done.
And, I included the tight ends on that for a reason because, it's kind of hard to differentiate the two receivers and tight ends. But because I did that, there's actually a reason why I'm going to go with Kansas City here. Because Kansas City has the most valuable weapon out of that receiving core. Kansas City has arguably the best tight end we've had in the last decade in Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce. Is he the best in the last decade? There used to be an argument.
Yep, in the last decade, he has been the most he has been the most important tight end in the NFL.
There used to be an argument, Kelce or Gronk, for at least 5 years. There was an argument, who's better, Kelce or Gronk, for at least 5 years.
And I always said it was Kelce. No disrespect to Gronk, but I always thought it was Kelce.
Yeah, that's why I can't say he's the best for the last decade, but he's there. He's in the conversation. I'll say that. But I just can't definitively say, oh, he was the best. There was, it's not head and shoulders. I'm not to say that it was a conversation. Now, if you say the last 5 years, then yeah, I'm with you. He was the best.
All right. And as we are talking about Super Bowl 57 here on the Sports Angle on prconnectionradio.com, the voice of new media, I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. We're here with Dennis Holmes, the Ignoranthinkers podcast. And before we break down the offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles and Kansas City Chiefs, let's go to the comment. Let's go to the chat. Let's have everyone's voice be heard here on the Sports Angle.
Talk to me.
So the first one here, Mahomes is going to make Hurts hurt. Mahomes has circled himself with talent around him. This game will be all about the coaches and who the better coach is, Andy Reid. The icing on the cake of the Super Bowl will have to be Mama Kelce throw the coin. I don't know. I thought I heard that she declined that, if I remember correctly.
What? Mama Kelce is throwing the coin? What?
See, here's the thing. I heard that report originally, but then I also heard that out of respect, she was going to decline. So I'm going to have to get like an actual report on that. I heard that, originally that was a report.
I'm watching every moment. Don't worry about it. I ain't going to miss a beat. I'm watching. I'm going to have all three of my electronic setups waiting. I'm even going to have the one of my favorite podcast guys on there, Bell and the Birdman. I'm going to listen to Bell and the Birdman while I'm watching the game.
There you go. That's what you got to do. Continuing the chat, we have Vegas Mike watch the first Super Bowl. He must be ancient. Vegas Mike, one of my longtime listeners here on the Sports Angle. Yeah, so you watched the first ever Super Bowl, 1967. That's 57 Super Bowls that Vegas Mike has watched.
Shout out to Vegas Mike. I started watching the Super Bowl. I think my first Super Bowl I saw, I think it was Whitney Houston joint.
Well, Whitney Houston, yeah.
Yeah, Whitney Houston, yeah. Yeah. That was my first Super Bowl. Why I left? Yeah. Why I left? My first Super Bowl.
Yeah, my first Super Bowl was the one with the Steelers when they won. It was in Detroit. I forget which one that was, but it was the one in Detroit.
Yeah. So. Oh, no, that was Super Bowl 40. Remember that.
Yeah, I was like 6 years old, so I probably don't remember anything about it, but I just remember I was watching it.
We used to call that, wow, man, you was 6 years old? I had just finished high school and everything, man. I was out and I was mad because that should have been the Eagles instead of the Seahawks.
See, that's how a lot of people can tell that, yes, and by the way, everybody should already know this already. Hi, I'm Ian Rakelli. I'm 25 years old, and I'm the host of the show. So,
yeah. And I'm 37, and I'm the and then right now I'm the guest host.
And he's a guest host, co-host, guest host. Yeah.
Stephanie said her first game was Denver versus Green Bay. That's what Stephanie said. Shout out to Steph. That was a good one, Steph.
Oh, that was a good one. Brett Favre, John Elway, getting tossed in the air by Darren Sharper.
Yeah, that was a good shout out to.
Yeah.
She said she was 18. Wow.
Hey, that's awesome. That's awesome. Back to the
It's
chat.
crazy because my first Super Bowl, I still didn't know what Super Bowl was or what national football was at all. I was watching it because it was something to watch in the house, and everybody wanted to see Whitney Houston. Like that was the big thing. Everybody just wanted to see Whitney Houston.
Oh, she's amazing. One of the greatest vocalists of all time.
I couldn't tell at that time. I couldn't tell you nothing about the Giants or the Buffalo Bills. But a couple years later, I started watching football, and my grandfather introduced everything to me. Mind you, he's a Cowboys fan, but he introduced the whole game to me. And the thing was, you outside. My grandfather was a deacon, you know what I mean? Didn't do too much talking, didn't crack to me, ain't smile too much, ain't get too excited about nothing. But I come in the house, to get something to drink. I'm outside playing. Next thing you know, my grandpa would, yeah. And I'm like, what? Who is that guy? Like, what is he excited about? We gotta watch this. What is this? Like, I sat down, I started watching. He started explaining everything to me. After that, the next game I think we've seen after that is Eagles versus Cowboys. Half of my house was Eagles fans, other half was Cowboys. My dad, my uncle, and my grandpa was Cowboy fans. My grandmother, all my aunts, and my uncle was Eagle fans. Eagles won that game. That's how I became an Eagles fan.
You know what? That is awesome. Now let me, just to make sure I was correct on this. Whitney Houston was, I think, 90, 91, and then Michael Jackson had to be like maybe a year or two after. Because a lot of people credit Michael Jackson for saving the Super Bowl halftime show. For him,
Well,
really making it what it is.
Whitney didn't do the halftime show. She did the what's that called?
She did the national anthem. Yeah.
National anthem. I was about to say the Star Spangled Banner. The national anthem. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just remember watching this article about how Michael Jackson literally saved the halftime show.
He might have. I mean, he does have the greatest halftime performance we ever seen. I mean, anytime somebody could just stand up at the top of the stadium for 3 minutes and not move a muscle, and the whole crowd is going crazy, it's definitely you. That's when you know you're the man. He just stood there for 3 minutes and did not move a muscle, and the crowd went bananas. You can't make this shit up.
That's why he's the king of pop. Michael Jackson, one of the greatest to ever do it.
One of the greatest performer of all time.
There you go. Now back to the chat. Hey, Dalton, I appreciate this. I can see Eagles defense be all over Mahomes, see forced fumbles, 3 defensive touchdowns, Hurts score 1 passing touchdown. 34 to 13. All right. You know what? I'm going to say this because this is like the third comment I've seen now. I do not see this being a blowout, and I'm going to explain why I don't see this being a blowout. The spread over the last week went from 3.5 to 1.5, and then when it went back up to 2 for a little bit, now it's at 1.5. When I see a spread in a Super Bowl change that much in the span of a week, where it goes from a 3.5 to near 1.5, I don't see that being a blowout, guys. This is just, my knowledge and what I know about betting is that when a spread keeps decreasing at that much, I don't think people are going to expect a blowout in the Super Bowl when the spread is 1.5.
I hope so. Only thing I could tell you is Patrick Mahomes doesn't have great Super Bowl performance.
Right, the last one he was in with Brady. Yeah.
And the one before that, the Tyreek Hill catch. I think it was on 3rd down, like 3rd and 18, something like that. Yeah, the Tyreek Hill catch was the one that saved him. Yeah. So it's not really like he has great performances in the Super Bowl.
Well, we're going to see in Super Bowl 57. We'll see how he does.
Yeah, we definitely will. Because we coming at this ass.
Matthew, he says Philly. I've been noticing that a lot.
Philly. Bang, 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 bang.
Oh, it's not bang, bang, Niner gang? It's not that?
No. It's just bang, 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 bang.
Chiefs do not have a number 1 receiver. Well, when you have 2 number 1 receivers that are number 2s versus 2 number 1 receivers, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Mahomes and the Chiefs shut down the 49ers, who had a great defensive line. Now, I hate to be that guy, but they didn't really shut down the 49ers. In fact, the 49ers had a lead with about 10 minutes left in the Super Bowl. And then Chiefs came back. So
exactly.
I like the comment though, but yeah, no, they didn't really shut
Definitely
down.
love the comment.
And since Dalton Smith brought it up, my Super Bowl MVP prediction: Hassan Reddick. I mean, he is from Temple. He is literally Philadelphia royalty at this point. But you know
He's a
what?
hometown hero. He's from Camden, which is right over the river, which a lot of people call East Philly.
Mhm.
He's a hometown hero. A guy I wish we would have drafted, but Arizona beat us to it. Ain't that some shit? I just put that together right now, Ian. I'm serious. I ain't even think of that. I really never thought of that, Ian. I'll be damned. Arizona drafted Hassan Reddick, and he's going back
Arizona,
to
yep.
Arizona to play. Damn, I really just thought of that tonight. I never even put that
He's
together.
back. He's back to where he used to be. Yeah.
Damn, I was thinking about all the possible situations, and that never crossed my mind. I'll be damned. That is crazy. Sorry to be pausing like that, man. I really,
Hey, it's all good, man.
it
Hey, it's
really
all
just
good.
came. It was like a moment, like, and Arizona drafted him. Ain't that some shit?
Hey, it's all good. Hey, it's like we say, it's live, folks. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Thomas, Philadelphia Eagles fan. You have them winning 34-31. A.J. Brown MVP. So I would assume that he catches the game-winning catch. If I had to make an assumption there, that he scores the game-winning touchdown.
Well, my Super Bowl MVP is actually the other wide receiver. It's Devontae Smith. That's my Super Bowl
Devontae.
MVP. Yeah, and then that way he'll be the second player to win a national championship, a Heisman, a Super Bowl, and Super Bowl MVP. Do you know who the first is?
Tony Dorsett?
No, but close.
Who is it?
The other one is Marcus Allen.
Okay, so running back. All right, I mean, I knew it was a running back. I didn't know. I
And it
thought it
was,
was
and you was at least you was in the same decade. A lot of other people was just naming Charles Woodson. You know what I mean? At least he was in the same decade.
Well, the thing is, he should have won the MVP. But you know what? I digress on that one. So now getting back to the Super Bowl 57 conversation. So Dennis, who would be your Super Bowl 57 MVP if you had to do 24 hours before? Who do you predict will be the MVP, hoisting the trophy first when they get to the podium?
Devontae Smith.
Right. And I will say for me, your host Ian Kelly, I have with the Kansas City Chiefs being my prediction on them winning this game 24-18. I will have Travis Kelce hoisting the trophy because Travis Kelce will catch the game-winning touchdown to win the game for Kansas City. So, you know what? That's my prediction right there, is that thanks to him catching the game-winning touchdown from Patrick Mahomes, I have Travis Kelce as your Super Bowl MVP as the Kansas City Chiefs win 24-18.
I don't see it. Well, it sounds good.
All right. Stephanie Clay, undercover Eagles fan? Oh, okay.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
Now that we're getting back into this, we're going to talk about the offensive line for a minute. So the offensive line, Kansas City Chiefs, Orlando Brown, they traded a huge ransom to get him from the Baltimore Ravens. He'll be at left tackle. At left guard, you have Joe Tooney, who they brought over from the New England Patriots. They drafted. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they drafted Creed Humphrey at center.
Yes,
Trey
they did.
Smith. Trey
Smith
I
from
know you know who that is.
University of Tennessee, baby. Yes, I do.
Volunteer.
Used to be a tackle. Now he's a guard. Yes, I do.
And then Andrew Wiley would be at right tackle. Now,
Andrew Wiley's going to have a long day.
Yes, he will. Now, the reoccurring theme here is that unlike the team I'm about to talk about, Kansas City isn't homegrown. A lot of their offensive line was brought in from other places.
Yeah.
Whereas Philadelphia...
They might lose Orlando Brown in the offseason. And after the performance he's going to have tomorrow, I can see why they're going to let him go. So don't you overpay for him, Bears, all right?
I was gonna say, watch him become a Chicago Bear. Yeah, we got a lot of money to spend. Now, what I was going to point out, however, is like the Chiefs, only two of their 5 starters on offensive line were drafted. Whereas the Philadelphia Eagles, all 5 of their offensive linemen have been drafted in-house by the Philadelphia Eagles. Regardless if it is Andre Dillard, Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, Isaac Samulio. I'm sorry, but I know I butchered that.
Yeah, Isaac Samulio. Lane Johnson, and don't forget Jordan Matiala.
There you go.
I butchered that one, but he's the best singer on the team. Let's get that out the way.
The best singer. There you go.
He's the best singer. Jordan really can sing his ass off, man. Surprise the shit out. The rugby guy can really sing his ass off. 7th round pick rugby guy, and we got him, just as an insurance policy. Jeff Stallion turned him into one of the best left tackles in the NFL. One of the best. I ain't say he is the best. I just said one of the best left tackles in the NFL. So you took a guy and you just took a chance on him because he was big and athletic, and you turned him into a top left tackle in the game. Jeff Stallion, I say it all the time. If I got a bad offensive line, I'm still in Jeff Stallion. I'm going to overpay for him.
Now, for all the people watching at home, Dennis, you're already going to know the answer to this one. If you had to tell me, according to Pro Football Focus, who was ranked the number 1 offensive line in the entire NFL, who was it?
I would say it's us, but it might not be.
It was the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles were ranked as the best offensive line in the NFL.
Wow. I didn't think it was us.
Yeah, Detroit Lions were number 2, by the way. I'm going to hype up Detroit real quick. Yeah, you were number 2. So round of applause for Detroit.
That's why I was scared to play them week 1. Week 1, I was scared to play them because I said their offensive line is right. And I said they just got that young guy, Aiden Hutchinson. He's nice. You know what I mean? I'm telling people this, and I'm like, if I'm scared of a game, I'm scared of Detroit. I wasn't scared of Minnesota. I couldn't wait to play Minnesota. You hear me?
So, since I mentioned that the Pro Football Focus has them ranked as the number 1 offensive line, of course, I have to give the edge to Philadelphia on offensive line. They're ranked number 1 for a reason. So, yeah, offensive line would go to Philadelphia.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we love you too, Stephanie. Come on now.
I'm sorry for the Minnesota thing. I'm sorry, Steph.
But anyway, back to the Super Bowl. Now we're going to shift over to the defense because, we spent a half hour talking about the offense here at Super Bowl 57. Well, defense wins championships. So getting on to the defensive side, your Philadelphia Eagles, you probably will explain it a lot better than I will, but that defense has been elite this year.
Yeah. As much as I am not a fan of Jonathan Gannon, I got to give him his props. As much as I'm not a fan of him, he's been doing a good job. Been doing a great job. I can't say he's been doing a great job, and I hope he continues. Keeps that spark. And one more game, baby. Just get it over. This one more game, baby. That's it. You got to stop the Magic Man, Patrick Mahomes. One more game.
So with Philadelphia, them using a 4-3 system, you have 5 defensive tackles that are going to be starting. You're going to have 5 defensive tackles that are going to be active in this game.
Yeah, to me, it's more like a 5-2 than a 4-3. Because I always say it's a 5-2 because we got 5 defensive linemen that's rushing, that's coming after the quarterback, and we just got 2 linebackers staying out there. That's why I always say it's a 5-2.
And with a good amount of these players, they're going to be free agents this upcoming off season. I mean, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave. There's so much good talent. James Bradbury, CJ Gardner-Johnson. With all these upcoming free agents, I'm not saying all of them are going to leave, But which ones do you say is most likely going to be moving on this offseason? Is there any of them that you think they're
CJ Gardner Johnson, Bradbury probably be another one going. I think Brandon Graham is staying. If he doesn't stay, then I see him going to Detroit to finish his career out. Fletcher Cox, on the other hand, I don't know. To be honest with you, they drafted his replacement. They went and picked another replacement. Then they went and got 2 old guys to come in there as well. So I don't know. What's the other guy? What's the other guy's name? We just got him from the Bears. What's his name?
Robert Quinn.
Robert Quinn. He's another guy. I'm not sure about him either.
Yeah. But, when I talked about the front four, I mean, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Robert Quinn. I mean, I didn't even mention Jordan Davis, Dominic Sue, Linnell Joseph. There's so much good talent on that front line in Philadelphia.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's all built there to stop the run and sack the quarterback's head off. That's what it's built for. Yeah. To stop the run and sack the quarterback's head off. As you can see, we have most sacks in NFL history in one season.
But that's really should be all it says. But I'm going to point out that your trio of linebackers, they're nothing to really, scoff at either. Hassan Reddick, we already know about.
Well, I don't consider him a linebacker, but I understand.
Yeah, Nakobe Dean up the middle.
Well, he doesn't start, so I understand his situation. But you have T.J. Edwards, who is a tackling machine, but my problem with him is he doesn't get many tackles in the backfield, and that's my problem with my linebackers. They don't eat in the backfield, and I feel as though with the way this D line is playing, my linebackers should be eating in the backfield. Now, Kyrie White has been really good in coverage, but I want to see how he matches up against Travis Kelce. Now, I'm not saying he's going to shut him down. You know what I'm saying? But I just want to see how he matches up. Because we know Travis Kelce going to get his. But as long as he don't get too much.
Yeah. So, that's breaking down the Eagles side of it. But when you go over to Kansas City, their defense isn't as bad as a lot of people are saying it is. It's not as sharp and it's not as great as Philadelphia's, but there are some bright spots in Kansas City. Obviously, you have the front four. You have Chris Jones, Brandon Williams, Frank Clark, and George Karlaftis, who was the rookie from Purdue.
Yeah, he's nice. Frank Clark, on the other hand, that guy shows up when he feels like it. Chris Jones is a monster. Mm-hmm. He's a monster. I'm not gonna lie, he's a monster. Frank Clark shows up when he wants to, and the guy from Vermont or Purdue? Is it Purdue or is it Vanderbilt?
From Purdue, George Karlaftis.
Yeah.
And I will give credit to Brandon Williams, by the way. Very underrated, but he was a defensive tackle brought over from Baltimore. He is now in Kansas City.
That's what's up. Yeah. It's going to be nice, but it's not enough.
I will mention Carlos Dunlap because he actually is one of the 3 linebackers they're going to be using in this game. You have Carlos Dunlap, Darius Harris, and you're going to have Nick Bolton. So that's really going to be your 3 linebackers Kansas City is going to be
using. What about Willie Gay? Willie Gay ain't there?
Willie Gay, he will be there, but he's not going to be the starter from what I saw. I think he's going to be in a rotation type of role. So, I'm going to find that fascinating to see how the Kansas City Chiefs do in this Super Bowl 57. Considering the talent they have on defense, they have a good amount of veterans, but a mix of young guys in there as well.
Okay.
So, since we're talking about Super Bowl 57, the special teams doesn't get a lot of love in the NFL. I get it. If you're not Justin Tucker, if you're not Daniel Carlson, most people don't care who you are as a kicker and or punter. But this special teams we saw in the playoffs can be valuable when it matters. When it matters the most, your offensive line, defensive line, but no, your special teams, whether they kick a field goal or not, and it gets in, that's an important deal. So when it comes to special teams, who would you really trust here between Philadelphia and Kansas City? Because Harrison Butker, for a long time, was considered an elite kicker in the NFL. But hey, Jake Elliott, he's not bad either.
Yeah, Jake Elliott, he's another guy that we got from the last Super Bowl, so he knows what to do in a big game like this. He's no stranger to it. So but I think Harrison Butker is the better kicker. But he's been dealing with an injury this year, so if he's 100%, he's the better kicker. That's what I'm gonna say.
And you know what? I actually think you have a good point on that. When it comes to Kansas City, I will favor their special teams, and I'm always going to factor in kick returners and punt returners because they are special teams. So for Kansas City, Justin Watson, the receiver that I mentioned, he is kind of the punt returner there, sharing it with Kadarius Toney. And then you have the rookie from Rutgers, Isaiah Pacheco, and Sky Moore. Those are your two guys in the kick returning unit.
I forgot about Justin Watson. Justin Watson is a hell of a wide receiver. I thought he was a tight end, but he's a hell of a wide receiver. He's the fifth wide receiver on the team, but he's a hell of a wide receiver.
Yeah,
I forgot about Justin Watson.
And then with the Philadelphia Eagles, with your kick returner and punt returner, I know Boston Scott is your kick returner, but who's your punt returner? Is it Watkins? Is that who it is?
No, punt returner is his number is 18. Why can't I think of his name? It's Cooley or Collie?
Britton Covey?
Covey. Yeah, Covey. That's his name, Covey. Hopefully he don't.
I don't know why, but for some reason I thought it was Quez Watkins. Maybe that's because of the number, but I just thought it was Watkins for some reason.
No, Quez is our deep ball guy, and he doesn't have a catch in this postseason. But the over-under for him is 14.5 yards. I'm thinking about taking over.
And as we are getting to the 45-minute mark here on this episode, Super Bowl 57 preview on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. We're here with Dennis Holmes from the Ignorant Thinkers podcast. And the head coaching, we can't talk about this Super Bowl without mentioning the Andy Reid situation. The fact that Andy Reid is taking on Andy Reid. Or more importantly, Andy Reid taking on the former Andy Reid.
Yeah. Since the day Andy Reid's been let go of the Philadelphia Eagles, we have not beaten Andy Reid. Let's get that out the way. And that very next year, he fired Nick Sirianni. We're on our third coach and still hasn't beaten Andy Reid. I had this conversation with my daughter's mother the other day, and she was like, "Oh, that's nice y'all playing Andy Reid." I said, "Yeah, but we ain't never beat him." She's like, "How you never beat him? What y'all coaches doing?" I said, "This is our third coach. We can't beat him. All three of them played him. We can't beat him."
Yeah, like, Chip Kelly, Doug Peterson, and now Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, she was like, "That's a problem." I said, "It is." She was like, "Well, what happened with the first coach?" I said, "The first coach let all the good players go because he had an ego problem." She was like, "Yeah." And then the second one won the Super Bowl. I said, "Exactly." Then they got rid of his ass. Now we got a third one that took us to the Super Bowl. It's crazy. It's crazy. But
now I'm not saying this is a trivia question, but Andy Reid, this will be the fifth time that a coach is going to be taking on his former team in a Super Bowl. Andy Reid will be the fifth one.
Okay, so you got Dan Reeves and John Gruden. That's about all I know.
Right. Yeah. So the other two, if you know who they are, let me know in the comments down below. But I will say that when it comes to that, I found that incredible that this will be the fifth time ever that a head coach will be going up against his former team in the Super Bowl. So
I am really shocked to know who the rest of these guys are.
And someone on Twitter said it. By the way, I appreciate everyone watching on Twitter. Hashtag Sports Angle at the Sports Angle on PR. Pete Carroll. So Pete Carroll was the other one. Seahawks. He was a former Patriots head coach.
Damn, he was. Wow. Sorry about that. I had another moment. I'm sorry.
And then this one, I have a feeling they looked it up, but if they didn't, then I'm impressed. Weeb Eubank, who coached the New York Jets, used to be the Baltimore Colts head coach in Super Bowl III.
I wouldn't. That's two before my time, but I know 4 of them. I've known 4 of them. I seen 4 of them coach. Dan Reeves when he took the Atlanta Falcons, playing against the Denver Broncos. John Gruden was Tampa Bay. Pete Carroll was playing against the Patriots, and and now it's Andy Reid.
Yep, now Andy Reid. But what is this really going to do in terms of legacy for Andy Reid? The fact that this is going to be him going up against Philadelphia, going up against a team that really for a decade and a half was his city. For a decade and a half was his place, and now for a decade, Kansas City has been his home and has been his place.
And no matter where he goes, it's the same thing. And I think his legacy will always be, the same. He won't be like, they won't put him as the greatest coach ever because he don't have as many Lombardis, but they for damn sure will put him up there, within the top 5. At least I think they should. I don't know what they're going to do here. I think they should for, everything that he had to go through. I think they should, but you never know. I mean, they're going to say most of his time was with Donovan McNabb and Patrick Mahomes. But
that's the one thing I'm always going to remember him for, though. As somebody who's a football fan, I'm always going to remember Andy Reid for the Donovan McNabb Philadelphia Eagles era more than Patrick Mahomes in the Chiefs era. That's what I'm always going to remember.
I'm more so, I remember it all from Doug Peterson to Detmer. I think it was Todd Detmer, AJ Philly,
Kevin Cobb.
Never mind. All right, let's talk about something else. Jeff Garcia is what I was going to say, but you said Kevin Cobb. Yeah, Kevin Cobb as well. Michael Vick.
Yeah.
Hell, we even had Vince Young.
Yeah, we did have Vince Young, the Dream Team back in 2012. Yeah, the Dream Team.
And we had Tony. We had Tony Banks. Yeah, I think we had Tony Banks too.
At one point, you did.
Yeah, Tony Banks as well.
Yeah.
Nothing but
Baltimore Ravens had him at 1.2, and then they benched him for Trent Dilfer. So
they did bench him for Trent Dilfer. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that Tony Banks was the original starter in 2000, and then they benched him.
No, I didn't forget that. But and I'm 100% with you on that. It's going to be
Someone said, have you forgotten about current New York Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka?
Yeah, he was the backup. I remember Mike Kafka. Yeah.
So, is there any trophies or recognitions Andy Reid has not received yet in his career?
I don't think so.
I know he won Coach of the Year. I know he did that in Kansas City when he first got there.
Oh, he won Coach of the Year in Kansas City? I thought he won it in Philly.
So maybe he's won it twice then. But yeah, so he's won Coach of the Year. He's won a Super Bowl. I really can't think of any other accolades.
I think he's been to more championship games than anybody else I can think of. I don't think nobody's been more championship games than Andy Reid. I don't think there's no coach been to more championship games than Andy Reid. So I think he's been
either be him or Belichick. Like him and Belichick are like maybe the only two I can think of that might be on that level.
Right, and I think he's been to 10.
So I'm gonna have the person behind the camera here. I'm gonna have them look that up. But
okay.
Yeah, so I think it's either Belichick or Reid because they're very close to each other.
I agree.
So we have about 10 minutes left here in the first hour of the show. And wow, someone brought up this statistic. Andy Reid has never been beaten after a bye week.
Well, that's a lie because he lost the Super Bowl. I got the tears to prove it if you want to go back and check all my 2004 life. So.
Hey, see, there you go. That's what I love about this show. It's live, folks.
Yeah, this is real. I ain't no born yesterday Eagles fan. This is real. This I've been going through this and like going through high school and your team is coming up and consistently making it to the NFC Championship game and getting beat. Oh man, it's
And of course, beating the Chicago Bears not once but twice in the postseason. Thanks for that.
yeah. That's the second one was y'all fault. Y'all should have beat us.
Well,
But the
actually, if
first,
your player hadn't tipped the kick, but
yeah, I mean y'all had Parker over there too, our former kicker. That's another thing I wanted to say. This schedule that they gave us this year, I wanted to wait to say this, but this schedule that they gave us this year, this was the Eagles' revenge tour schedule. Almost every game we played was against somebody who was a former Eagle. This was the Eagles' revenge tour schedule. And what better way to end the schedule off? We're taking out the best head coach we had.
No, you're right. You're right. However, I will say Doug Peterson, if he would have kept him a lot longer, maybe he would have had a legacy. But
I think we'd still be in the same spot with Doug Peterson. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. I feel like they did him dirty though. Like not even years later.
I do too. I'm gonna have to agree to that. I feel as though we did them dirty. And I got a feeling that if Jacksonville gets nice, we might see them in the Super Bowl. And I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. They might get us. they might get us.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't really see any team in the AFC South getting to a Super Bowl anytime soon.
No, they got the best team in the AFC South. Crazy thing about their team is they're the youngest team in the AFC South. Well, the youngest.
I was gonna say Houston's kind of around there.
Yeah, they young, but they ain't doing nothing.
I don't know. They hired D'Amico Ryans, a former Philadelphia Eagle, might I add. But they hired D'Amico Ryans.
Also former Houston Texan.
Yeah, one of the smartest moves. I've been advocating for him becoming a head coach. You've heard it. I wanted to be a head coach for a while.
Well, we're gonna see how it goes, man. But let's get into your prediction.
Yeah. So once again, my prediction. Because we got about 10 minutes left here in the show. My prediction here for Super Bowl 57. Who will win, Chiefs or Eagles? I have the Kansas City Chiefs. I am taking the +1.5 here. Kansas City Chiefs 24-18 is the sports angle on PRConnectionRadios.com prediction. Now, Dennis Holmes, what's your prediction?
My prediction is 38-20. I see it not being that good in the first half for Kansas City, but then the second half, Kansas City will make a run because the Eagles don't score a lot of points in the second half. That's been our downfall. So second half, I can see Kansas City making a run, right? Mm-hmm. And, it'll get to a point where it'll seem like it's close. And then next thing you know, everybody start talking about that 28-3 or that 27-0, and then that's when the magic happens for our defensive line. They finally get a hold of Patrick Mahomes. He gets those turnovers, and that's what makes the score 38-20.
Hey, you know what? We'll have to wait and see. So you're taking the Eagles -1.5. I'm taking the Chiefs +1.5. So, yeah, it's gonna be great.
It's definitely gonna be great, man. So happy, man. It's a Philly thing. I'm so happy.
And of course, we have someone here: Chiefs 24, Eagles 21.
She riding with Andy Reid. I see you. I used to ride with him too.
Yeah, she riding with Andy Reid. Yeah. Well, and Patrick Mahomes, right behind me. She riding with him too. But
all right.
Yeah, and by the way, since I know who you are personally, I'm just gonna point out you need to get some Kansas City ribs tomorrow. You need to go to Walmart, go to the superstore, go to your supermarket, get yourself some ribs, get yourself some barbecue, get some chicken, get some steak. If you're really that big of a Kansas City Chiefs fan, like I know you are, the person who commented, you might as well represent. Get yourself some KC ribs. Come on now.
All right, I'm not doing that. She could do it.
And for you, I'm gonna say go get yourself some Philly cheesesteak. Maybe go out and get a Philly gyro. Maybe one of those.
Man, I think I'm just gonna. At first, I was gonna order some stuff, but then I was like, no, you know what? I'll sit here, I'll watch the game, and I'll drink some water. as I've been doing all season. Keep it the same.
Ooh, wow. So Vegas Mike, 31-30 Kansas City. So
I
you're
hate
going to
Vegas
take
Mike.
Wait, so you'd be taking the Chiefs plus 1.5, but you actually wouldn't, because if you take the Chiefs plus 1.5, okay, so 31-30, you're taking Kansas City. Okay. All right, I see you, Vegas Mike. I see you in the chat.
Shout out to Vegas Mike.
Yeah, shout out to Vegas Mike. As Sheagles, 34-13, according to Dalton.
I like
Now,
that. That sounds good.
Now, we got about 5 minutes left in the first hour, so we got to talk about this very quickly. And that is the Pro Football Hall of Fame inductees. And as you see right here in front of us, Rondé Barber, a really good defensive back. You know who Rondé Barber is due to what happened in the 2002 NFC Championship game.
I got the tears to prove it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know what? Hands down to them guys, man. I'm glad that Rondé got in. To me, that solidifies that defense to me as the greatest defense I've ever seen in my life. I know the Steel Curtain is still probably number one, but goddamn it, this defense is number two. I got them better than the 2000 Ravens.
I'm really happy you said in your lifetime. Cause I was gonna say, what about the 85 Bears? But I had to pump it back real big.
85 Bears would be 3.
I got the Bears at number 2, and this is not me being a biased Bears fan. I have them as the second greatest defense of all time.
But see, the thing about the Tampa Bay team, they did that for 5 years. They was killing like that for 5 years. That's what a lot of people don't get. They took the greatest show on turf, and they held them to 11 points. The final score was 11-6. That's a baseball game.
Right. They had to bring in Keyshawn Johnson to try to get a little offense.
And Sean King was a rookie quarterback at that time.
Las Vegas Gladiators legend, arena football, Sean King.
Sean King. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm just telling you, but I'm happy for Rondé to get in. All the years that DeMarcus Ware been terrorizing us, I'm happy he got in. I'm happy Zach Thomas got in. So, I'm definitely happy about Joe Thomas, but I knew he was getting in. Like I knew Darrelle Revis was getting in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this: Don Coryell, aka Eric Coryell, very happy to see him finally get in. He revolutionized the game. Chuck Howley, the only player in Super Bowl history to win MVP while on the losing team.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco. I really don't know much about him, but I'm just going to move on from that. You got Darrelle Revis Island. He was locking people down for 4 years. 4 or 5 year run. He was locking people down.
Yeah. Then he got that knee injury.
Yeah. But hey, at least he got Super Bowl in New England, though. At least that's a consolation.
Right.
Ken Riley, former Bengals safety. Really good to see him there.
Right.
Marcus Ware, Dallas Cowboys legend, won a Super Bowl at the end of his career in Denver. But I have a little rant I gotta get off my chest. So as you see here, here's the finalists from there. So I'm not going to talk about Jared Allen. Yes, he was a former Bear for 2 seasons. That's not who I'm talking about. Willie Anderson, good. That's not who I'm going to talk about. Devin Hester, once again, the greatest special teams specialist of all time. A guy who should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer is still not in the Hall of Fame.
They don't value.
He is the greatest special team specialist of all time.
They don't value the special teams in the Hall of Fame because he damn sure does deserve it.
The fact that even Deion Sanders had to come out and say he should be 100% in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
But yeah, I just had to very quickly do that real quick because to me it is an abomination.
Wait a minute. Dwight Freeney didn't get in?
Dwight Freeney, he unfortunately did not make it, but he was a first-time Hall of Famer, so he'll be on the ballot next year.
Whoa. Dwight Freeney won Defensive Player of the Year.
That's right. Yeah, Dwight Freeney, Defensive Player of the Year, was not voted in the Hall of Fame.
What the fuck?
You also had Corey Holt, Andre Johnson, Albert Lewis. Reggie Wayne, Patrick Willis still
If
hasn't
Torrey
gotten
Hope,
in.
if Torrey Hope gets in, that will solidify them as the greatest offense I've ever seen.
Yep, and Darren Woodson too. He's like it's been like I think 5 years. He still hasn't gotten in.
Yeah, Darren Woodson, he deserves to get in as well. Patrick Willis, I don't know if they're gonna let him in because of the years. Reggie Wayne, he should get in. Reggie Wayne and Andre Johnson should go in together. That'd be nice for Miami University. My fault. The U.
Oh, the U. Yeah, I was gonna say Miami, Ohio. Shout out to those Red Hawks out there in Miami. But I will say, by the way, so since we got into the top of the hour, here to end hour number 1, Dennis, I will say I appreciate you coming on the show as always.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you 90 seconds, let everybody know where they can find you and all the information. Tell everybody where they can find you, any projects you're working on, all that.
Listen, man, listen. For Vegas Mike and all your family, listen. Make sure y'all go and add Ignorant Thinker Podcast on all social media platforms. I'm on YouTube. I'm on your TikToks. I'm on your Instagrams. I'm on your Facebook. Just come see me. Dennis Holmes, Ignorant Thinker Podcast. So all you got to do is type that in. Ignorant Thinker, you can Google it. I am Googleable. I don't know if I said that right, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, Dennis, absolutely. Thank you for coming on the show. You're welcome back anytime, man.
Yes, man. Thanks a lot.
So yes, that was an amazing hour number 1. So as we are talking about, the NFL here, I'm actually gonna be bringing on, somebody, but we actually got to take a quick break here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. We have a call-in number now, so it's 425-610-8763. The call-in number is 425-610-8763. Once again, that is 425-610-8763. So we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to take a half a minute. Then we will be back here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. And welcome back to the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Kelly. And like I said before, as we're continuing our conversation, talking about Super Bowl 57, call line is open. Our phone is open. So if you want to call in, 425-610-8763. So, if anybody wants to call in, definitely talk about the Super Bowl and anything else going on in the sports world, that would be great. So, as we were talking about the Super Bowl, I will say appreciate Dennis coming on the show. And I will say that when it comes to everything going on, I do like the fact that you have Jalen Hurts, you have Patrick Mahomes, and there is definitely a lot to talk about from that front. And now, with Patrick Mahomes and with Jalen Hurts, I like what I've seen from them, everything that's going on. So I will say to everyone watching around the world, this has been a great episode of the Sports Angle on PR Connection Radio and everything that's going on. So, I will say this is your host, Ian Kelly. And, as we've been talking about Super Bowl, I actually got to get off of that for just a second and talk about the Las Vegas Raiders, talk about Derek Carr, because there has been a report that has come out, and that is the fact that Derek Carr, right behind me, that the New Orleans Saints and the Las Vegas Raiders, there has been dialogue, there's been some good back and forth, and the fact that this could be an end of an era. And this is definitely a Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio, and And I think we have a caller on the line. A caller, can you identify yourself? And I believe we do have a caller on the line. Oh, well, they hung up. Okay. Now, so I'm going to say very quickly, with Derek Carr and the whole situation, the New Orleans Saints, there has been the whole conversation, and there's been the fact that the New Orleans Saints, Las Vegas Raiders, there has come to a mutual agreement, a conversation and a trade has pretty much been done with the Derek Carr Las Vegas Raiders situation. So I will say to everyone watching around the world, it's very interesting, and to me, it's very fascinating the fact that the New Orleans Saints and Las Vegas Raiders have come to a mutual agreement on a Derek Carr trade involving the Las Vegas Raiders and the New Orleans Saints. So, and I'm really gonna look at this from two different perspectives. Actually, I will look at this from two different perspectives. I will look at it from the Las Vegas Raiders perspective, and I will look at it from the New Orleans Saints perspective. So the first one is from the Las Vegas Raiders. And the fact that the Las Vegas Raiders, them moving on from Derek Carr, I get that this has been a long time coming. I comprehend that the Las Vegas Raiders, they are not going to, be heartbroken by the fact that Derek Carr, after 10 whole seasons, is not going to be their quarterback heading into next year. Look, I get it. The NFL is a business at the end of the day. It is about business. Them moving on from Derek Carr after 10 years, this was a long time coming. But what we didn't expect was the fact that Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders, where do they go from here? Where do the Las Vegas Raiders go in terms of quarterback situation? Because with Derek Carr, I will say that with him and the Saints, we'll get to in a minute. With the Las Vegas Raiders, there's a variety of options that you have once you have mutually agreed to trade Derek Carr to New Orleans Saints. And that is the Las Vegas Raiders, they have about half a dozen quarterbacks they could go after this offseason. This is the Las Vegas Raiders that could go into the NFL draft. This is a Las Vegas Raiders team who could trade up in Chicago to get the number one overall pick and draft CJ Stroud from Ohio State. There's a possibility there. There's a possibility they could trade up and maybe draft Bryce Young, the quarterback from Alabama. Heck, there's even a possibility that Will Levis could drop down to the number 7 pick and the Raiders draft him instead. So with the Las Vegas Raiders, the one main conclusion with them mutually agreeing to get rid of Derek Carr and him, going to the New Orleans Saints, the fact is, the New Las Vegas Raiders, the first option they have is that they could get a quarterback in the upcoming NFL draft. The second option is a sign and trade. The Las Vegas Raiders could easily well make a sign and trade and try to get Lamar Jackson. There's been a report that the Baltimore Ravens are $100 million indifferent from what Lamar Jackson wants and what the Ravens management wants. And when it comes to somebody like Lamar Jackson, I believe he's worth it. I think he's one of the most talented quarterbacks the NFL has ever had. Top 3 talent in the NFL currently. But Las Vegas Raiders could do a sign and trade, and they could trade for Lamar Jackson. That's a very well good possibility. That's number 2. Number 3 is they bring in a veteran quarterback from someplace else. They bring a veteran quarterback who will be here for a year or 2. I'm talking about Ryan Tannehill. I'm talking about Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm talking about, maybe bringing in Geno Smith if he leaves Seattle. Having a veteran quarterback who will be in the silver and black, and they will join the Las Vegas Raiders for a year or 2, sign a 1 or 2 year deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. Andy Dalton has been a long-time veteran. You could sign him as well. Jameis Winston, if we're going to talk about Saints quarterbacks, Jameis Winston, he's an option too. The Las Vegas Raiders, that's the third option they have, that they could sign a veteran quarterback to come to Las Vegas. The fourth option, the fourth option that we have here with the Las Vegas Raiders is that they could trade for a Super Bowl winning quarterback. They could make a trade and try to get a Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers. That's a possibility too. It's a possibility that they could go and get Aaron Rodgers, have him come from Green Bay, and team up with Davante Adams. Now, do I think that's a great idea? Absolutely not. But what I could see them do is have Aaron Rodgers be here for the remainder of his contract, be here during Davante Adams, and then move on to a younger quarterback once Aaron Rodgers is up. I could see that being a possibility. But lastly, at 5, they stay with their current quarterback. Jarrett Stidham would be the number 1 quarterback with the Las Vegas Raiders right now on the depth chart. With Derek Carr being gone, Jarrett Stidham would be your quarterback. Now, is Jarrett Stidham going to light the world on fire? Absolutely not. But he was a Patriots quarterback. He was with Josh McDaniels in New England, and he did show flashes at times in the NFL over the past couple of years. So I would say that's really your 5 options if you're Las Vegas Raiders post Derek Carr. 1, you go into the NFL draft and you draft one of the 3 quarterbacks available. 2, you do a sign and trade and you get Lamar Jackson from the Baltimore Ravens. 3, you go and you get a veteran quarterback like Ryan Tannehill. You get a veteran quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo, and you have them be part of the Las Vegas Raiders while you bring in a young quarterback. Number 4, you get Aaron Rodgers. You do a trade, you get him from the Green Bay Packers, and you team him up with Davante Adams. And at 5, and this is the last option because I don't see it happening, you have Jarrett Stidham be your backup quarterback, and you eventually make him into your starter. So with the news that the New Orleans Saints and Las Vegas Raiders have mutually agreed to a deal with Derek Carr, I will say that is definitely going to be a fascinating situation. Now, I will say that when it comes to the Las Vegas Raiders, it's going to be a great deal, and I honestly think whatever happens post Derek Carr, it'll be fascinating to see what they do this offseason. Now, for the New Orleans Saints, the reason why they would end up being a good deal after Derek Carr is because they really haven't had a quarterback post Drew Brees that has really been an above average quarterback in the NFL. They've experimented with other quarterbacks, but they really haven't had anybody to that caliber. So I would say when it comes to that. Now, so as we are doing the sports angle here on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media, I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. This has been a fantastic show breaking down Super Bowl 57. And I will say to everyone watching around the world, I appreciate everyone who has watched this show. I appreciate Dennis Holmes for being here on the show from the Ignoranthinkers podcast. Now, I do have somebody on the line. I have somebody who wanted to be here. They've been watching the show. And when it comes to, the Kansas City Chiefs, the team we talked about for majority of the show, they are a big fanatic of the Kansas City Chiefs. So I have to bring them on. And I definitely have brought them on. I think they're on the call line right now. They tried to call earlier in the show. Yes, we now do have a call number. But I will say to everyone watching around the world, Vegas Karen, are you on the?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I know you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, so give us your Super Bowl 57 prediction.
24-21. Kansas City.
You know what? Be a little bit more than that. Vegas Karen. You need to give me a little more than just 24-21. Tell me, give me some meat and potatoes. Give me some actual explanation. Why do you see the Chiefs going 20-21?
Okay, well, nobody has really come out and said what the quarterbacks, what the status of these quarterbacks are. Are they still injured? Are they going to be playing injured? What are the stats on them playing injured? And so I think that both of them are going to be playing injured. I think they're going to become, it's going to become very apparent during the Super Bowl for both of them. And I think the teams are going to rally around them because they both are going to be injured. That's why I think it'll be 24-21. I think both teams are going to struggle quite a bit because of it.
All right. I mean, I see all of that with the injuries and everything. And Sean, I see you in the chat as well. Sean, if you want to give your Super Bowl 57 prediction, down in the chat down below. But all right, so you're talking about the injuries with Mahomes and Hurts. But, 24-21, the Chiefs are plus 1.5. What makes you go against the odds makers? What makes you go against the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that is the favorite, according to Caesar Sportsbooks, out here in Las Vegas, the sports betting capital of the world? What makes you go against them?
Because of the injuries. I think even with being injured, Mahomes is going to be in much better shape. Mahomes's shoulder is the issue, isn't it? Where he got hurt in the upper top of him when he got hurt, and in the bottom where his foot, like an ankle, like Mahomes is.
Injuries with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, look, I know that you could talk about that, but Mahomes is pretty much at 95%. He's good to go. Jalen Hurts, he is at 95 to near 100%. These two are going to be good to go. What I really want to see and what I really want to know is that when it comes to Philadelphia and Kansas City, how is Andy Reid going to perform against his former team? How is Andy Reid, a guy who has never lost to his former Philadelphia Eagles team, is he going to keep that going? Is Andy Reid going to stay undefeated against his Philadelphia Eagles, a team that got rid of him after 15 years, and now he's been in Kansas City for a decade?
An incentive just right there to blow out your old team to show them who the better coach is.
I'm not saying it would be an incentive, but it would feel good. It would feel good to beat your former team in a Super Bowl and to do all of that. But back to what we're talking about. There's a reason why a lot of people in the chat, a lot of people on social media, on Twitter, at SportsAngle on PR, you'll go onto our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There's a reason why a lot of people are picking the Kansas City Chiefs to lose against Philadelphia. And it's the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles have the number 1 ranked offensive line in the NFL. That's a fact. They have 2 1,000-yard receivers. That's a fact. They have the most rushing touchdowns in a single season in NFL history. That's a fact. Their defense had almost half of their defensive starters elected to the Pro Bowl, and they had a trio as a all-pro. That's a fact. And with the Philadelphia Eagles, this is the team that had the best record in the NFL. That is a fact. So when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles and Kansas City Chiefs, and I understand that there are going to be some people who aren't going to like what I'm about to say next, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to have to outperform the Philadelphia Eagles in order to win this game. The Philadelphia Eagles should be the favorite here because they are the better team. The Philadelphia Eagles should be the favorite here because they've been the best team all year. So Vegas Karen, who's on the line right now, thank you for joining the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com. I know that you are a massive Kansas City Chiefs fan. I'm aware of that. But when it comes to Kansas City, I just really want to know from your perspective as a Chiefs fan. We had an Eagles fan for the whole first hour of the show, thanks to Dennis Holmes for being here. But when it comes to Kansas City, how are they going to get it done against such a dominant defense? How are they going to get it done against the best offensive line in the NFL? How are they going to do it?
because Mahomes is the number one quarterback and he can outrun, he can maneuver, he can do just about anything. He will be very, very well prepared for the defense and the offense. He will be they in a whole the whole team is spent quite a bit of time watching the plays, watching how they play, watching what they do. And so they're going to be very, very prepared on how that's going to work.
All right. I can totally see that perspective. I understand where you're coming from. But, you gave your prediction right when we answered the phone call, right when we put you on the line. But if Philadelphia wins this, let's say with you being Kansas City Chiefs fan, are you making any bets, any wagers for Super Bowl? You being, Vegas Karen after all, are you someone that is going to go to the casino, go to Caesar Sportsbook and place a few bets down? Or you've done that so far?
I haven't yet, but I'm going to do it.
Right, so is there any like prop bets you're into? Are you in any like those parlays? Like for example, are you one of those people that's into, is it going to be heads or tails for the coin toss? Are you
No, I just go for the whole thing. So
because I can tell you what prop bet that I'm interested in. How many minutes it's going to take for the national anthem? How long the national anthem in terms of length is going to take? How long the halftime show is going to take? If there's going to be a wardrobe malfunction in the halftime show. I swear, here in the Las Vegas sports book capital of the world, there are prop bets for literally everything. If you can think it, it is going to be there. I know there were prop bets a long time ago about, will there be a certain person on the Titantron? When they do the celebrities in attendance, is this celebrity going to be on the screen? That was a prop bet. I remember a long time ago, there was a prop bet about, the president. How many times were they going to show the president at the Super Bowl? I forget which one it was, but there was a Super Bowl where the president was there, and the prop bet was the over and under, how many times it would show him on screen. So with all those prop bets, I love them, by the way. This is the sports book capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. I enjoy the heck out of it. But when it comes to you, Vegas Karen, what about the commercials? Are you someone that loves to sit down and watch the commercials and see all the funny, sports ads and commercials and comedies? Like, are you into that?
I am. I enjoy watching the ads to see if they're going to be funny, if they're going to be radical, if what they are going to be. And sometimes they're funny. Sometimes I take offense from what they're doing. So I enjoy both sides of it. So, but I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch my Kansas City Chiefs with ribs and coleslaw and have a ball.
Ribs and coleslaw and a Vegas Karen. If there was a way that I could get some of those ribs and coleslaw, that would be fantastic. But obviously, I don't think that's going to happen. After all, I will be at the South Point Casino. I will be watching the Super Bowl over there. It's going to be a fantastic time tomorrow. I'm going to be over there doing what I do best, and that is, doing interviews and talking to all the sports fans all around the world here in Las Vegas. But let's get back to the chat real quick. There's a lot of people here, and I'm watching for the commercials. Absolutely, you're watching for the commercials. So am I, and all of that. So I will say, with Super Bowl halftime. Oh, speaking of which, Super Bowl halftime show. So Rihanna is going to be the halftime show performance. Now, I'm a big pop and R&B fan. I love watching the Super Bowl halftime show, especially when there is a pop artist, when there's a musician that comes from R&B. And with Rihanna, she has been a legend for about a decade and a half now. She has been phenomenal. But what about you, Vegas Karen? I mean, what kind of music are you into? With this being the Super Bowl halftime show, 57. I mean, last year we had Dr. Dre and we had, the tribute to him last year. This year, we're going to have Rihanna as the halftime show performer. So what do you think? I mean, are you going to be interested in the halftime show this year?
Probably go get my food while I skip it.
Vegas Karen, while you're on the line here, on Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com. What kind of music are you into? Because I find that fascinating. I love pop and R&B, but what are you into?
I'm into easy listening and jazz, 60s, 70s, 80s music. So I enjoy that more. I'm into Celine Dion and Barry Manilow.
I want to make sure you're not Canadian, right?
No.
I just want to make sure, Vegas, you're not Canadian, because Celine Dion, one of the best Canadians that they have. I also will point out The Weeknd. They've had Drake, Justin Bieber. I mean, so many Canadians are putting out good music now. But yeah, Celine Dion, Shania Twain as well.
Yep.
But yeah, so I was just want to make sure you're not Canadian when you said Celine Dion. And I will say that you said jazz, 60s, 70s, 80s. You know, I'm not going to ask you who Michael Jackson is, you know, king of pop. I'm not going to ask you about that. But
I like some of his, all of it.
That's very good to know. You know, maybe we'll play some soft rock, you know, maybe play some, you know, 80s, you know, rock music. But when it comes to the halftime show, I ask a lot of my guests this, and I've even asked people who've come on the show before this. If you could book your ultimate halftime show, if you could have any two artists, you know, they have to be alive now. That's the only caveat. But if you could book a Super Bowl halftime show, you pick two artists that you would want to see perform at a Super Bowl halftime show. You are the prop director. You are the person that is the talent of the talent relations. Who would it be, Vegas Karen? Who would be the two artists that you would select for your Super Bowl halftime show?
I have no idea.
See, that's the thing. That's why I do that.
There's a lot of performers on the Strip in Las Vegas that I could hit or miss. I mean, I like some things Bruno Mars does, you know, so it just depends on what type of music that they make. So.
The one that I have for you is, you know, me, this is my personal one. I would have Bruno Mars. He would be the opening act. And then I would have Jay-Z be the opening act. So I would have Jay-Z and I'd have Bruno Mars. That's what I would have. You know, I would really love to have Tupac and Biggie, but unfortunately they are dead. So that kind of doesn't work here. But yeah, so I would say Bruno Mars and Jay-Z, or I would try to do, you know, Beyonce and maybe, Jay-Z, you know, and something like that. So, you know, that's just kind of what might be. But yeah, so I would say Bruno Mars, maybe Adele for you. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she would be perfect too.
All right, so for you it would be Adele and Bruno Mars. Mine would be Bruno Mars and Jay-Z. That's what my Super Bowl halftime show would be. For all the people watching around the world, who would be your Super Bowl halftime show? If you could have any two artists team them up together for your personal Super Bowl halftime show, you put in the chat down below, tell me who you would want. The only caveat is they have to be alive for this. Like I said, I'd love.
Why? But why? They could do a video portion of it, like Nat King Cole and Natalie Cole did, where she sang with the video of her dad.
Well, with it being a Super Bowl halftime show and having 100 million people watching it around the world, I just think that having two actual people there, you know, being able to be on stage and, you know, be with the audience and connect with everybody. So yeah, so like I said, Bruno Mars and Jay-Z. Vegas Karen, I know you said Adele and Bruno Mars. But yeah, I'm just curious to see who everyone around the world would have for your own Super Bowl halftime show. So we have about 5 minutes left here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I will say, by the way, I appreciate Vegas Karen for using our call-in number, 425-610-8763, 425-610-8763. That's going to be our call-in number now for the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com. So Vegas Karen with about 5 minutes left. Okay, Kiss, you know, is that with the makeup on or without the makeup? Because I know that they had the makeup for a long time, and then Gene Simmons, and they took the makeup off, you know, at one point. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they put the makeup back on, because, you know, they've been, you know, it's been a while. So. But Vegas Karen with about 5 minutes left. I want to ask you about something that is Vegas related. It's not about football, but I just want to ask you this as someone who is Vegas Karen. The Vegas Golden Knights in the NHL. They're the second best team in the West right now. You know, Dallas Stars are 4 points ahead of them for the number 1 seed in the West. The Vegas Golden Knights right now, they would take on the LA Kings in the first round. So with the Vegas Golden Knights and you being a big hockey fan, what do you think about the Vegas Golden Knights so far in the year? They're around 60% of the way done in the NHL. So if you being from Vegas, what do you think about the Vegas Golden Knights? How have you been impressed by them so far? Like I said, the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, and they're only 4 points back from the number 1 seed Dallas Stars. What do you think so far?
As far as the Golden Knights, I think that they're in pretty good place considering all the injuries that they've had recently, and they're finally getting some people back. They're not going to get Mark Stone back, who was quite a bit of an influence to the team. But I think that even if he's not playing, he's still there as supporting him. With Thompson going out the last game, I think they're going to struggle in the next couple of weeks. They're going to pull up Bourgeois, and he hasn't played all that great in the past, and he'll struggle from game to game. So I think they're going to be struggling until Thompson comes back.
And I want to give a quick shout out real quick to the UNLV Skating Rebels. They're in the top 5 ranked right now in college hockey. And I've been going to some of the UNLV Rebels hockey games. They have been incredible. They had $2 beer night recently. They were taking on the Arizona Wildcats, and they absolutely won. They were up 4-1 at one point in the game. So with UNLV Rebels hockey, I want to ask you, we have about a minute left. So Vegas Karen, do you know anything about the UNLV Skating Rebels? Do you have any familiarity with UNLV hockey? And more importantly, are you even surprised that UNLV hockey, they're less than 5 years in, and in Division II hockey, they're ranked in the top 5 in terms of rankings? That's just incredible.
I have no idea about the University of Las Vegas, so I have not seen them. I don't know anything about them. So, but I'm glad that UNLV is actually getting the recognition that they've deserved over the last few years, because they have really tried to make that school a good mark for people to come to. And the only thing I can say is I wished that the Henderson Knights and the ECHL would start looking at the kids in the high schools, like Faith Lutheran that plays hockey. We have a lot of talent here in Las Vegas that we should concentrate on trying to keep at home and help them build abilities here. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, Vegas Karen, we have to let you go. It's towards the end of the show, but definitely thanks for calling in. And this is the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. This was our Super Bowl 57 Super Bowl preview show. And I want to say thanks to everyone watching around the world. And until next episode, I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. We have new guests on every single episode, and we do our shows normally on Friday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. So until then, have a good one.